caravan of unity. Let's unite as we all come together as a spiritual family. Let's unite as we all come together on this caravan of unity. Hey, it's a caravan, caravan, caravan of unity. We on a mission, yes, we on a mission. Caravan, caravan, caravan of unity. We on a mission, yes, we on a mission. Caravan, caravan, caravan of unity. We on a mission, yes, we on a mission. Caravan, caravan, caravan of unity. We on a mission, yes, we on a mission.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Caravan of Unity 2020 in Carbondale, Colorado, the highest point on the travels of the caravan across America. And I'm so thrilled to have the crew here from Unity Earth and to welcome Peter Melton, who is the wizard of all wizards.
Hello, Rita. Hello, Caravan of Unity. Boy, what a joy to be here in Carbondale. And what a collection of beautiful friends coming together. An absolutely gorgeous day, and it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So we've timed it out perfectly. San Francisco, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and now here to Carbondale, Colorado. It's been a beautiful journey. It's so good to be here and to be here, being the eyes and ears for all of you out there. Wow, it's gorgeous.
I'm so glad that the caravan came here. When I met Bimble 2 years ago at the Convergence 4 years ago, the Convergence in Crestone, this was a rumor of the possibility of this. And I held in my heart that the caravan would come to Carbondale. And here you are.
And here it is. Here you are, putting together such a great group of people.
Yes, well, we're thrilled to have everyone here and want people to learn about thriving in unity and compassion in the way that we do here in our beautiful town.
Awesome. Well, take it away, do your thing, and have a beautiful show. Go get them, girl.
We'll see you
a little later.
At the other end.
Okay.
All right. Well, as I said, I'm welcoming everybody here, and I'm looking forward to this program today. And the first that we have on the program is a welcome from our mayor, Dan Richardson. He wasn't able to be here today, so we have it on video.
Hi, I'm Dan Richardson, Mayor of Carbondale, and I wanted to welcome the Unity Earth's Caravan of Unity 2020 to Carbondale. I also want to welcome all those who are participating in the events. I appreciate that the caravan is going to stop here in Carbondale. During the coronavirus pandemic, our community came out like no other and showing its own unity and support and empathy. So I think it's only fitting for the caravan to come through Carbondale. I wish you luck on your journey. I wish you luck to get to New York City for the weekend of peace and beyond, and appreciate what you're doing. I know that you're always welcome here in Carbondale, and I wish you luck. Take care.
And now on our program, we have Roxana Duvall, who is going to share a poem.
Hi. I'm quoting John Muir. John Muir was an influential Scottish-American advocate for the preservation of wilderness. He was co-founder of the Sierra Club and known as the father of the national parks in the United States of America. He wrote this advice: climb the mountains and get their glad tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as the sunshine flows into the trees. The winds blow their freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares drop away like the leaves of autumn. Of all the paths you take in life, make sure a few of them are dirt.
Thank you, Roxana. And now we have a very special opening prayer. Clifford Duncan is a Ute elder, spiritual leader from Northern Ute. He was here in Carbondale in December 2009, one of his many visits, and he did an opening prayer for the 11th Native Gathering of the Americas. Clifford was born in 1933. He passed from this earthly plane in 2014. He was a very inspirational leader, a very powerful medicine man. Will greet you this morning.
It's mentioned to me that there should be a prayer for our gathering. So I would like to say a few words to the Great Spirit for all of us. And, Native Americans usually will start all activities with a prayer. And this is more of a guidance requested from the Spirit so that we can go on with whatever we're going to do. So we try to bring that over into other communities, our way of life. So with that, bear with me. It's going to be difficult to interpret the next few moments, I think. Noti mara mapugat jepunit khate marwate. Tawachi upak maras ni kuat ni chitu pujon mar. Bahan chitu pujon mar requests marum mapugas. Oro Mine of my girl, possible universo, we to my tray, what can make it over? I report my mine of my ratipical, what is right. The West brother, nigga, out John Michael, us. We were my brain, my might want to, or worst capture want to. I run to what my nigga. Ahad pimar true pimar roaches making order. Ura no cycle when I was John making order. Oh, thank you.
Here we are, enjoying this beautiful morning in Carbondale, Colorado. And the next person I'm going to invite up next to me is my dear friend and companion on this journey, this wild journey of Indigenous learning. This person is Connie Baxter Marlowe, an author, a filmmaker, a futurist. She was a resident of the Valley for 30 years, from 76 to 2006. And then she moved away after raising her children, her 3 children, and she went on with her visionary travels and learning to bring in the Indigenous cosmology into our knowing. Connie is an author, a photographer, she's a futurist, and we're going to see an introduction to her work in this film that is coming up. And then Connie will be here to share her journey, her understanding, and the history of Indigenous relationships here in the Roaring Fork Valley.
Peace will come to prevail on earth, a prophecy. It will be through the inspiration of individuals on a large-scale basis that world change will be effected. Separation, fear, hatred, and violence are old patterns learned for survival in a bygone era. They are like an old suit that no longer fits. We are beginning to realize that these attitudes do not our innermost feeling. There's a volcano that's about to erupt into the world today. What will be thrown into the atmosphere by the bursting open of the human heart will be more beauty, balance, joy, abundance, and harmony than has ever been experienced before. This has been written in the destiny of planet Earth and has been carried through the ages by the native peoples in their prophecies and in the essence of all religions. The continental mass from Chile to Alaska is in fact the New World. People from every nation of the globe have moved to this land to break with tradition and start a new, better life. At the foundation of democracy lie the seeds of true peace and freedom. These seeds have yet to bear the fruit encoded in them. The indigenous peoples of the world have been holding keys to true peace, freedom, and harmony in the essence of who they are and their core spiritual knowledge. The coming together of the ancient understanding of the natural laws of the universe and the secrets of the earth, which have been held by the indigenous peoples, with what the modern cultures have learned through exploring the scientific paradigm, will create a synthesis from which will emerge a balanced way of walking on earth that has never been experienced before. This new experience will come from the choice of individuals to abandon fear and open their hearts to the full potential of the human spirit. There is a new energy on earth which supports the manifestation of the infinite balance, abundance, and unconditional love that lie at the foundation of universal law. We are experiencing these in our lives, and they are influencing us as to what choices we make as we live day by day. Spontaneously, trust replaces fear. Generosity replaces hoarding. Ease replaces struggle. Abundance replaces scarcity. Unity replaces separation. Serenity replaces tension. New systems develop. New relationships replace outmoded ways of being. An understanding of the sacredness and interconnectedness of all things begins to emerge. It is in this way that true peace and profound freedom come to prevail on earth. The principles found in indigenous thought, the way of life of the native peoples of the Americas and most traditional cultures and tribal cultures are principles that resonate to the deepest aspiration of all of humanity and can be thought of as pan-indigenousness, the thread that binds the heart of humanity together in a vision of a world in balance. We can compare and contrast these principles of indigenous cosmology with the principles that drive the society we live in today. Sharing versus hoarding and saving. Concern for the common good versus individualism at the expense of the common good. Cooperation versus competition. Concern for the future impact of present action versus instant gratification. Respect and reverence for all of life versus dominance of a concern for profit. Trust in the love of a higher power manifested in all action versus fear and doubt. Living in balance with the rhythms of life versus being constrained by a man-made concept of time. Understanding the interrelatedness of all things and actions versus separation. Understanding and trusting abundance versus fear of scarcity. An understanding of the co-creative power of thought versus random coincidence. Equality between all aspects of life versus human dominance. Incorporation of the metaphysical into physical reality versus being bound to the limits of physical reality. In order to prepare for the new future of peace, harmony, and unity that may be beyond our current understanding, we must act with intention and use the information already available to us, as well as commit to listening to and learning from the earth her creatures and other aspects, as well as the universal energies, visible and invisible, and to encouraging peak performance through connectedness, choice, and discovery, abandoning models of perfection and judgment.
You've seen Connie on film, and now I'm so thrilled to invite Connie up to share her story with you all. Connie, please come in.
So happy to be here. And you've just experienced the vision I wrote about in the mid-90s during the time when the visionary elders who came into my life to show me the missing pieces of the paradigm that I was seeking. And I saw not the way things could be, but what I believe is the way things will be as we awaken to our true nature and the true nature of reality. The indigenous peoples have been carrying clues for us for this time. Now that the old systems built on beliefs driven by fear, concepts of scarcity, and separation are collapsing, making way for the new ways of being you heard in the video, a prophecy of things to come. I came here to the Roaring Fork Valley in the mid-1970s with a knowing deep within that humanity was out of balance. And I was shown that the Native Americans were carrying something extraordinary in their knowledge and way of life. This knowing of something new, something old, something different being carried by the Native peoples became apparent to many of the inhabitants of the valley, who developed initiatives that led the valley to becoming a model of involving the original caretakers of the land, the people we know as the Ute, whose traditional name is Nooch, in this land's present and future use. In the mid-1980s, almost 40 years ago, a healing process began to build trust between the three Ute Nooch tribes, the Northern Utes, Southern Utes, and Ute Mountain Utes, and the governmental entities, the Pitkin County Commissioners, the U.S. Forest Service, the City of Aspen, the town of Carbondale, as well as the Aspen Skiing Company, as they worked together to establish land use that honored the ancestral lands of the Ute. From this contact, visionary, heart-centered catalysts valley-wide saw the importance of the spirit, wisdom, and way of life of the Ute for the unfolding of the consciousness of humanity as well as land use. Healing, blessing, and cleansing ceremonies for various initiatives, Cozy Point Ranch, Avalanche Mine, Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, the Aspen Schools, along with the establishment of the Ute Trail, Ute Park, Nooch Park, and many others, brought forth and aligned the universal energies often ignored by Western organizations, educational institutions, and developments. There have been many organizations that have developed through the years to involve the residents of the valley with the Utes. I'd like to name a few. I founded Friends of Earth People that created forums for the visionary elders to share their understanding of the nature of the universe, 1990 to 2002. Sarah Pletz founded the Living Arts Foundation that hosted talking circles with city, county, and citizen representatives every July 4th from 1993 to 1997 in recognition of the indigenous role in the development of American democracy. Olympic skier Susie Chaffee founded Native Voices Foundation and brought the Utes back to their ancestral homeland to enjoy skiing the magnificent mountains they call home from 1999 to 2004. Deanne Vitrak Kessler founded the Aspen Ute Foundation, now the Aspen Indigenous Foundation, that hosts annual powwows and the Shining Mountain Indigenous Film Festival, 2016 to the present. The Aspen Historical Society, under the direction of Nina Gabbianelli, working with Skyla Loma Haftua, a Northern Ute tribal member, began a program and exhibition that travels throughout the state to libraries, small museums, and schools to interpret the Ute culture through history and storytelling, 2012 to the present. In Carbondale, Rita Marsh founded Davina Kent Center for Human Flourishing in 2003 and the Roaring Fork Valley Circle in 2010 to sponsor ongoing programs that support indigenous cultures and wisdom, hosting the 2009 11th Native Gathering of the Americas and the 2010 Indigenous Grandmothers Gathering, with significant ongoing programs today. I would like to honor the Utes who responded to the call to return to the valley with love in their hearts. Southern Ute elders grandmother Bertha Grove, her son Alden Naranjo, Eddie Box, Russell Box, and Kenny Frost, who were early returnees to the valley. Northern Utes Roland McCook, Uinta and Ure Ute tribal chairman and Uncompadre Ute tribal historian, Loya Sespuch Arum and her daughter Carrie, and our beloved Clifford Duncan were consistent in their participation and sharing their wisdom. Thank you. We are eternally grateful to you. I would also like to honor Grandfather Wallace Black Elk, Lakota elder, who came often to the valley to share his wisdom and message of unity throughout the 90s. And Marilyn Youngbird, Arikara Hidatsa elder, and Grandmother Kitty, Lakota Nakota elder, all of whom performed sweat lodges and shared their knowledge and gifts. I will close with this quote from Nicholas Black Elk, from Black Elk Speaks, Oglala Lakota. The first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere. It is within us. Thank you very much. And now Rita will introduce the Indigenous piece of the program.
Thanks, Connie. Thanks very much, Connie. The next part of our program, which is going to be an individual, Dave Taylor, coming in, and then we will have a circle of remembering for Clifford Duncan, a slideshow of the 11th Native Gathering of the Americas that Dave will introduce, and we will also have a circle discussing the Carbondale connection with the Standing Rock Initiative. So I'd like to introduce now Dave Taylor. He's the owner and the magic act at Cool Brick Studios in Carbondale, Colorado. He's a cinematographer, director, and producer of the film Whitewashed. He's a person who responds with open-hearted yes to requests for supporting community needs. He's an extraordinary member of our community. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you very much, Rita. That's very kind. And thank you for having me, and thank you all for having a preview of the film Whitewashed, The Ethnic Cleansing of America. The film is a documentary that explores the forced assimilation, the cultural genocide, and the intergenerational trauma that has been the Native American experience since the late 1800s. It was originally brought to me it was sort of an interesting chain of events that led me to be a part of this film, because I am the co-director and co-producer of Whitewashed. Initially, I worked with a veterans group here in the Valley, and through that, a friend of mine, Barry Chapman, who will be playing some music a little bit later, introduced me to my friend and spiritual brother, Anouk Bald Eagle, and his family, who are part of the Minneconjou Lakota of the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in Cherry Creek near Eagle Butte in South Dakota. He brought first to me a project of the Cherry Creek Singers, who are a group of indigenous drummers and singers from the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation, and we produced several CDs for them of their Native American drumming and singing, one song of which will be featured in the slideshow that Rita mentioned coming up a little bit later, and that song is Minnewaconee, which stands for Water is Life, and that song was inspired by the Standing Rock movement, which I also had the privilege of being there with the Bald Eagle family. So you have that to look forward to as well. Once we did the CDs for the Cherry Creek Singers, Anouk connected me with our executive producer, Deborah Friedkin, and we started on the Whitewashed project. And it was a 3-year project that was quite eye-opening for me as someone who didn't really know a lot about the Native American experience since the late 1800s in the US. And the research that I did and the movie that we ended up coming up with, I think underscores greatly the need to correct the historical narrative and correct the curriculum that is taught into schools to include the true history of the United States with respect to not only Native Americans, but other minority groups and other indigenous groups, even if that true story and that true history is a little uncomfortable for some of us to look at. So I would like to thank all of you for being here and watching, and I hope you enjoy this short preview of Whitewashed. And thanks again for the Caravan of Unity for coming to Carbondale, and God bless. Thank you.
This is probably one of the most depressing, heart-wrenching photos I've ever seen. Native American children taken from their families, put into school to assimilate them into white society.
A whole entire generation of Native American children completely lost by ethnic cleansing and genocide, by men and women professing to be working on behalf of God. The priests raped many of these children.
What is anybody supposed to do with this? Nobody alive today is responsible for this.
This needs to be a part of the curriculum of history, along with the correct perspectives on many other aspects of our emergence as a nation.
So according to your narrative, there are two groups of humans, white men and victims. I take offense to the original post and the whole aggressive and derogatory attitude. It's disingenuous and not even true what he is saying.
If the anger makes us uncomfortable, then we need to examine why. One of the privileges of the dominant society is writing history to protect ourselves from looking in the mirror. Then history simply becomes propaganda.
History is what it is. No undoing, no lessons to be learned here, just useless knowledge.
They wanted to destroy our identity. And they put us on these boarding schools. I'm one of them that they put in these boarding schools. Destroy the language, destroy the songs. Matter of fact, you couldn't sing any native song. You couldn't speak any native language. The vernacular would be English, and English only. That's how they wrote it up.
This is a hidden history. And so many people don't know this history.
You know, this country, people don't even know about boarding school trauma. Kids are not taught about it in the schools.
After Custer's defeat at Little Bighorn, the U.S. government had a serious Indian problem with the Northern Plains tribes, especially the Lakota. There was serious talk of a military campaign of complete extermination of all Indians who were resisting being forced onto the reservations. But that plan was rejected in government circles, as plans often are, because it would cost too much. Instead, attention turned to a retired Army officer who had undertaken an education experiment with Indian prisoners at Fort Marion in Florida. His name was Colonel Richard Henry Pratt. Pratt offered Indian prisoners of war from earlier conflicts their freedom in return for submission to a program of assimilation, and taught them English, various trades, and marching drills. Most of the prisoners complied, if only to secure their freedom, and Pratt touted his program a success and petitioned the government for the authority to expand it. Pratt considered himself a friend to the Indian, in contrast to those advocating extermination, and believed Native Americans could become useful citizens if they could only be civilized. This would require them to renounce their culture and tribal way of life and convert to Christianity. But convincing the Indian to abandon his spirituality would prove to be a difficult task. The missionaries handed out crosses and were shocked to learn that the natives wore them as symbols of the 4 cardinal points of their religion, and they were reluctant to give that up for one locked in a black book that they couldn't read and seemed full of contradiction.
It is a good book, I am sure. Why does the white man not follow it? If there is only one true religion, why do the Methodists and the Baptists and the Blackcoats all fight each other? I do not want your heaven when I die, and please keep your hell. There'll be no room for Indians. It'll be too full of white bad hearts.
Pratt and his advocates in Washington were convinced that the only way to fully conquer the Indian was to kill everything that was Indian inside of them. And the phrase, "kill the Indian and save the man," became the mantra of his movement. Having had little success in the native communities, they decided to focus on the children and separate the children from their families starting at about age 5. The children would be turned over to religious groups for re-education in boarding schools.
Hi, it's Rita back again, and I want to introduce my good friend and the news director at KDNK, our local public radio station, Amy Haddon Marsh, who is going to facilitate this memory circle for Clifford Duncan, our Ute elder.
Thanks, Rita. It's good to be here. I'm Amy Haddon Marsh, news director of KDNK Community Access Radio, and I want to honor the Utes whose land this is. And Clifford Duncan was a Northern Ute elder. The late, great Clifford Duncan was a Northern Ute elder, spiritual leader. And he did a lot of things in this area. He helped identify the Ute Trail up on the flat tops, various sacred sites in this valley. And we're here this morning to share a few memories. We each have a lot of memories of Clifford. But first of all, I'd like to introduce Dr. Will Evans, retired physician, Carbondale resident, author, host of KDNK's Shifting Gears, and author and local historian Charlotte Graham. And Rita, of course, and we're all going to be talking about Clifford. Each of us knew Clifford. It's like we don't even have to say his last name. You know, you say Clifford, and we all know who Clifford is or was. We have all had experiences with him. Some have spent more time with him than others, but the man that Clifford was, he was the same man for all of us. For me, Clifford was the most unpretentious human being I think I've ever met. He was honest and kind, patient with us non-native people, patience like you wouldn't believe. And he had a twinkle in his eye and a great sense of humor. I was fortunate enough several years ago to spend some time with Clifford at his home when I was researching wild horses. And he talked about his family's history with horses, and we went out to see his horses. He had 7 or 8, a beautiful herd. And I will never forget that generosity of time and spirit that he gave. So I would like to pass this to Dr. Will Evans. It's a rock, just a tradition with circles to have a talking piece. And Will, what do you have to say about your time with Clifford?
Well, I first met Clifford in August of the summer of 1996 in Patterson Creek, a camp. Clifford was already there. My 2 youngest daughters and I had walked in from Bison Lake. And the initial memory was of the warmness with which he greeted us. And we continued to meet on the Ute Trail in August for a number of years and walked together, talked together, and one time in the conversation, blindfolds and walking in a blindfold state came up. And Clifford sparked up with that, and he said, yes. As a child, they would do that with us. They called it the night walk. And so the next time a group of us gathered, I brought some strips of cloth and we blindfolded ourselves. And I can't remember anything significant that was said, but I inched my way through the sagebrush and didn't know where I would go or end up, but I knew I wasn't going to fall very far. It was a pretty gentle terrain. And I touched a tree. And I touched it lightly. And I went into a state of connection with that tree in sacred time. And I came home and I did a drawing of it because it still sits on my dresser as a reminder. And every time I walk by the river, I touch the trees with that awareness. Well, the next morning we packed up and we came home to Carbondale, and I said to Clifford, if we hurry, we can get to the village smithy for lunch. Clifford didn't wobble, he didn't waver. He said, let's not hurry. You're welcome.
Thank you, Amy. I just want to relate a very brief memory of Clifford. Our organization started in 2003. Our organization, the Center for Human Flourishing, otherwise known as Davi Nakent. And the reason for Davi Nakent is that when we started, we were searching for a name that would honor the first peoples of the land. And knowing that Clifford has such wisdom, we invited him for lunch at the village smithy and asked him to please give us a name that meant a reconnection to spirit. Our organization presents integral health programs, and we feel that the malaise that is with us today so much has to do with our disconnection from spirit. So Clifford thought for a while, and he came up with the sounds, Davi Nakent, and said, you'll have to spell it because it's an oral language, you know. And we said, okay, we'll try. And I said, what is the literal meaning of Davi Nakent? And he said, always light. So we carry that with us today, and our organization is claiming the name, the Center for Human Flourishing. We will always, always be always light. Davi Nakent.
Thank you, Rita. Charlotte Graham, author and local historian. I know you have lots of memories about your time with Clifford, so can you share some with us?
Okay, if you promise to kick my foot or something and I don't get too carried away. Clifford and I had a very wonderful relationship here in the Crystal River Valley, Roaring Fork Valley. I had, many years ago, started, when I first came here, I felt compelled to write stories of people who lived here because I wanted to know more about this place that seemed so magical to me. And I did. I wrote, met all the elders I could find in the valley and everything, and I had pretty much gotten my book together. And I kept thinking, no, we're not finished yet. We hadn't even begun. And that's because we didn't know about the first people of Colorado. And so I made it my purpose to go and see if I could find who was a northern Ute that had lived in this valley. And I was introduced to Clifford from Bill Kite at the Forest Service.
He used to be the archaeologist.
He was the archaeologist, and he knew a lot he was always here. Mm-hmm. And we had a brief meeting at that time. It was about 2002 or 2003. And I didn't see him again until I went to the Delta powwow. And that was about 2006. And he was there because he was an elder dancer. Mm-hmm. And he won a lot of awards and blankets for his dancing because he was an incredibly beautiful, graceful dancer. Mm-hmm. And I saw him afterwards, and I walked up to him, and I just said hello and introduced myself and said I would like to speak with him sometime about the valley. And he said, okay. Didn't think to hear from him. Mm-hmm. That next December, I got a phone call, and he said, hey. He said, do you have a passport?
Oh.
And I said, yes. He said, do you speak Spanish? I said, well, a little. He said, doesn't matter. He said, I want you to go with me.
Okay.
To South America. Okay. So to make a long, beautiful story shorter, much shorter, but there were so many experiences there. We went to Salt Lake. He had no idea what airline. He had no idea what city we were going to. I just had to figure it out. and I felt like that was part of my test. And so that's what we did. And we spent time in Bogota. We got to meet the Kuli, Kogi tribe that live at the very top of the mountains in Colombia. There's a Nat Geo program about them because they are the eldest people of the longest tribe in South America. And Clifford had an immediate connection with them. And so the whole trip was really wonderful. When we came back on the plane, I asked him, I said, what would you like to do? What could we do together? And he said, I would like to do programs for the children. And I said, well, we can do that. What do you want? So we ended up, over a couple of years' time, visiting all of the schools here on the western slope of Colorado, everywhere from Gunnison to Meeker to Aspen to here to Carbondale and Glenwood Springs and Rifle and even Marble. And he would wear his regalia. He got me a little bit of regalia to wear, and we would present stories from the Northern Ute Elder. And the children all loved it, and it was really, really wonderful. And it got us to start something called Brothers of the Bear, Colorado's First People. And we have a Facebook page for it. And
Brothers of the Bear, Colorado's First People. I think we have to leave it there.
Okay.
But thank you. Thanks. And that's, I know your stories of Clifford are myriad and wonderful. Thank you, Will Evans, and thank you very much, Rita, and thank you, Clifford Duncan, for allowing us to have these wonderful memories.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amy and Will and Shar. And now we're going to move to the film that Dave Taylor has put together about the 11th Native Gathering and the grandmother's visit, and the photography by Beth White. That's up next.
John.
Welcome back. I'm here to introduce Rolly Burley, who's a community organizer and a KDNK journalist, and he is going to facilitate a group of discussion around Carbondale support for Standing Rock.
Thank you, Rita Marsh, and thank you to everybody who is tuning in to join us on this beautiful Sunday. In October and November of 2016, we saw hundreds gather locally throughout this town and the surrounding towns in support of those defending Standing Rock, and dozens journeyed from this place to the Sacred Stone Camp, and we have a few of them here with us today. So the question for each of you is, how did your experience of Standing Rock impact your life, and how does that experience inform how we move forward in unity and peace? And we'll just go down the line, beginning with Will Evans here.
In December of 2016, I traveled to Standing Rock, not as a water protector, but I went as a representative of a small South Pacific population of peaceful people who know themselves to be containers of water. And at the same time, they're able to hold a paradox. And the fundamental conflict of our time was playing out at Standing Rock. I went knowing I am a container of water. I took a small tent, but had no idea where I would set it up and where I would camp. But as I arrived, I walked between the tents, pulling a sled and distributing the gifts that I had brought. At the entrance of a tent, I met a man, and spontaneously I asked him, "Can I camp with you tonight?" And he waved me in and lifted the flap of the tent, and I walked inside, and he introduced me to a woman. And I talked with her, and she said, "You can spend the night with us." And then I went out and about, pulling my sled and distributing my gifts, and met 3 lovely women. And they asked me where I was going, and I asked for directions to who I was seeking, and they said, "Oh, we'll take you." And when we'd completed that, one of them said to me, "Would you like to go to the Central Fire?" And I said, "Yes." And as we approached the crowd, she walked in front of me and said, "Make way for the elder. Make way for the elder." And never in my life had I been received and treated as an elder with such respect. I went to the Ojibwe camp. I learned their language a little. I learned their respect for water, and again was treated as an elder. The next morning, a North Dakota blizzard came in. I started home because I was alone, and I knew enough about storms in the plains that I didn't want to spend my night in a tent. I got to the casino, and it was full. I called Tim here in Carbondale. He called me back. Sylvia said, "Yeah, you can sleep on the floor in our room." It was a magical marriage of the sacred and the ordinary.
Thank you very much, Will Evans, author of Circulating Source Water. Next up, we have Barb Chambliss, who is author of Women Peacemakers.
There were 3 things that came together, converged together for me to end up at Standing Rock. First of all, I come from 2 communities on the western slope of Colorado that had citizens that collaborated with each other strongly enough to keep the frackers out of here. Because it was the fracking on the other side of the mountain here was going to be at schoolyards. It was going to be in the reservoir that watered all the organic farms. But the community was fantastic, and I was part of that. Number two, I'd listened to an interview Amy Goodman did of 3 midwives talking about the forced sterilization of the Native Americans. And I did some research on it, and I knew the midwives were up there, and I wanted to go interview them. And number 3, I have 120 apple trees, and it was a year of total verdance up there. So all my neighbors came, and we picked 35 huge boxes of apples, and we rented a U-Haul and drove up there with the apples and a wood stove and all sorts of supplies that they needed. When I got there, I was welcomed into a teepee myself, and I'll never forget the friends I made in that teepee. The next day I went to look for the midwives, and I could not find them. But on my way back from there, I was introduced to this woman, a clan mother, who said, as someone said, Barb, you should talk to her about interviewing for this book. I've been doing interviews with women peacemakers for this book, and I was up there to do the midwives. Somebody said, oh no, you should talk with this woman, which I did. And she's a chanupa carrier, a peace pipe carrier for Mayan Hondurans, the Honduran Mayan group, and for several of the Native American tribes up here in the United States. And she was there talking about the prophecies that they have all prophesized about what's coming. And she was there to tell me that her job was to help the elder women, both indigenous and non-indigenous, to start standing up in their power. So I said to her, this was 4 days after the election of Donald Trump as president. So I said to her, well, she said in 2012, the era of male domination basically ended. It's not well known, and the men are very confused about all that right now, but this is the era when the women will rise, and either they will lead alone or they'll lead in collaboration with men of good heart. So I said to her, well, we have this president that's sort of a male. Do you have any advice for us? And this was the advice she gave me. Do what the elders say. Prepare. Don't be blind. Do what you need to do to prepare for all these things. Then she said, my service is to bring the elders together, to bring all the youths together, to teach them and hold the space in prayer. I don't care if this president is a Martian. I just do what I can do. Just think, if everybody did what they knew was right, if everybody stood up and spoke for the voiceless, spoke for Mother Earth, spoke for the water, spoke for the animals, if all the indigenous and all the other peoples that are conscious would stand up and just do what they know is right, no one can stop that. And then she gave me one more quote that I'd like to read to you that I think was the most impacting thing for me. I mean, she kept saying the women needed to stand up, and I kept saying, I'm willing to stand up, but I don't want to do this alone. This leadership thing is really daunting. I need both wings of the bird operating, the male and the female. And she said, yes, be sure that you pick men of good heart and clear mind. And then she said these words. These prophecies are always talking about what will happen in the future, but they're actually talking about us. This is the future they were referring to. And what they have prophesied, we are now living. We are it. So now, whoever is on the planet at this time will determine what is to happen to our planet. We can't wait. It is us, and it is now.
Thank you very much, Barb. Sonia Lindman, local caretaker. Please share about your experience.
Thank you. This is my 30th year in the Valley, and for years I worked with youth, building dreams and future, teaching them about seventh generation philosophy, how to live a life that will leave a legacy of peace and calm. And somewhere around 2010, 2012, I started to see an insidious destruction of truth. Truth has always been challenged. But our youth and much of our culture was learning about what is perceived as truth through media that was inciting violence and anger and fear and division. So in 2016, my son was a student at CSU in ethnic studies, and he and I spoke often of our heartbreak and how youth were rising to see forward 7 generations. But right now, we were in the midst of chaos. So we packed our truck with gifts from the community, and we went to Standing Rock, and we were there because we listened, because we stopped the pace of the madness, and we listened. And we showed up with a truck full of gifts, food, mittens, and we were there on the night of Backwater Bridge. And during the tear gassing and the explosions, I lost sight of my child, and I was one of many, many, many people who were in the midst of what we would call contemporary trauma. And I saw faces and heard the heartbeats. And all of our electricity and all of our electronics were scrambled. And I realized that the dragon, the darkness, was to separate people. It was pulling us away and stopping our ability to communicate, to connect, to hold with each other. And I found him on a hill, and he was crying, and we stood in the midst of all of these youth and elders and the drumming. And it carries forth with us now in such deep ways. We've recently opened a place on Canyon Creek called Seventh Elder, not because of the 7 generations, but because we are in the 7th generation. And it is now, as your elders spoke to, that we must rise and we must come together to decide which road we're going to lead. And so it feels very much to me like this is the moment in history and in time where we stop the scramble and we reconnect. And through the presence of Seventh Elder and that connection to our children and our earth and our land and our water, we make a significant commitment that we will not allow ourselves to be divided. And that's my honor for this group. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, Sonia. We have just about 4 minutes left to remain on schedule, so if you could each take about 2 minutes. Amy Haddon-Marsh, KDNK Local Community Radio News Director.
Thank you, Raleigh, Will, Barb, Sonia, Dave, Rita, and all of y'all out there listening. I was at Standing Rock in September of 2016, covering it for KDNK. I went up with a stranger who ended up a friend. But I think one of my most powerful memories was we arrived the day the bulldozers came over the hill and decimated the sacred sites, and the dogs were unleashed on the protesters. And later that evening, or maybe, yeah, it was that evening, the Lakota archaeologist invited the media to the sacred site where to witness the destruction and to learn a little bit more about it. So we had permission to go up there. We all went up. He told the story about the sacred site that had been connected. It was created by the ancients that the ancients called the ancients. And it connected the earth with a particular constellation in the heavens. And it had this profound impact on me about how these people, even the baby that's born today in Standing Rock, is connected to the generations that go back. And I'm concerned about the sacred sites being destroyed, again, because of the disconnection. Thank you.
David Starbear.
Thank you. And it feels appropriate that I'm at the end because I can share that I went because my family, my dear family, was up there, and I went to support and be in support of our connections to Pine Ridge and Rosebud and Cheyenne River and all the people that we share our lives with here in the valley. And what feels most alive for me in the moment, because just even being in circles, and I've sat in circles since the event and worked through the trauma of being beaten and sprayed and all of the other atrocities that we witnessed and that we shared together, and standing at the sacred fire 4 years ago coming up when I was leaning on grandfather Little Thunder when the news came that Trump was our president. And what I remember being spoken at that circle feels most alive for me in the moment, and that was what the elders were sharing with us was the really common message of, what are you doing here that you may not be doing in your own communities? Are you completely sure that you are in the support of the people that are around you? Are you completely sure that all of this wonder and bliss that you're bringing to us here is really translating at home in your everyday life? And if it's not, then go home. And that feels most alive to me now, particularly given the state of what we're watching unfold in our country and this planet with pandemics and racial violence and all the things that want to separate us. The elders told me many, many times that we will probably appear to lose this battle with the pipeline, but you don't really know what's happening, what's really truly unfolding in the matrix around us, because we're gathered, we're connecting hearts, and for us to move forward, we have to put aside so many differences. And that was one of the major messages of Standing Rock, was that there were so many people represented that have been divided for so long that are now together to speak the message of peace and love, and to not put this emphasis on love being this new age concept, because love is hard and it needs something valuable for us to look inside and divide ourselves in a different way. So
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for your service, for your work, and everything you continue to do.
Thank you.
And now, Rita back again, and I want to introduce again Roxana Duvall, who's going to lead us into part of the program to honor our Latinx community. Roxana.
Until 1848, the land where we are standing now was part of Mexico and as was the entire southwestern portion of the United States. After English, Spanish is the most spoken language in this country. Our Roaring Fork Valley is approximately 50% Latino or Latinx from all over North, Central, and South Americas. Latinos are essential to our economy here and work in medical facilities, on ranches and farms, as police officers, in restaurants and social services, and in the school systems pre-K through college. We have many mercados y tiendas aquí, and our valley is bilingual. Each summer, we normally have a Latin American festival in the main park. One of our favorite Latino organizations in our valley is the Aspen Santa Fe Ballet Folklorico, whose director, choreographer, teacher, and costume designer is Francisco Nevarez Borgueño, more affectionately known as Paco. Paco teaches youngsters from elementary through high school, and they rehearse in this very building. Please enjoy the following collage of some of their many dances. This particular performance took place in Costa Rica before COVID, of course.
Deja que salga la luna, deja que se meta el sol, deja que caiga la noche, pa' que empiece nuestro amor. Deja que las estrellitas me llenen de inspiración para decirte cositas muy bonitas, corazón. Yo sé que no hay en el mundo amor como el que me das, y sé que noche con noche te voy a dedicar otra canción, a ver si me devuelves tu cariño. Ya vengo de rezar una oración, a ver si se compone mi destino. Acuérdate que siempre te adoré, no dejes que me pierda en mi pobreza.
Practice here in this building, and we're just thrilled that we could offer this video of their dance troupe here today. They're an amazing, amazing group. And now I would like to introduce another dance group, the Carbondale Flash Mob. It's a jazz dance flash mob that's a performing troupe for kids, adults. They offer joy-infused dancing, training, and surprise performances for parties. They filmed a recent performance outside KDNK, our local public radio station, and I hope that you'll enjoy this fun experience. Hello again, folks. Thanks to everyone who participated in the Indigenous Honoring section of our program. We're now going to move into a segment that is focused majorly on arts and arts and healing. And for the first part of our program, we have wonderful videoed appearance of Deva and Aidan Shante, who have the True Nature Healing Arts Center here in Carbondale. It's an oasis in the corner of our town that is just an amazing, amazing space. And we were fortunate enough to catch them at their venue yesterday to have them speak about their experience of being artists, being teachers, being compassionate, caring members of our community. So we look forward to having you experience Aidan and Deva Shante.
My name is Aidan Shante, and this is Deva Shante, and we'd like to welcome you to True Nature Healing Arts in Carbondale, Colorado, which was a creation that came about through my own process of suffering and desire for freedom in my life. And so we created a space where we listen deeply to spirit and to our deeper selves and our passions, and wanted to create a space for people to come to be inspired, to connect with each other, and to learn about who we are. One of the most important things about True Nature, which has a peace garden and a yoga program and an educational part to it, is this whole process of helping people discover what their dharma is, their purpose, why they're here, because we've come to realize that when Deva and I ourselves are living our dharma, we're happiest and we're making a contribution to the whole without actually trying to be of service to the whole, just by playing our part in this grand scheme. And so True Nature has been a part of my healing journey and a way that I can also connect with other people.
And our tagline is inspiration, connection, and self-discovery. And every aspect of True Nature is encapsulating those values and that mission. And you know, it goes from getting a massage and learning how to receive, to walking the labyrinth and learning how to be silent and still within yourself and connect, and then entering into a yoga class and practicing in community with other individuals for you to develop an inner relationship with your body physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. So every aspect here is for, you know, that intention and that mission. And our greatest intention and goal with True Nature is just to be a haven for people to come and connect.
That sums it up for me.
And now, from the beautiful gardens at True Nature, we'll come inside to 3rd Street Center and experience the artwork of our local fabric artist, Jill Scher, who has an amazing installation here in the building, 1,000 origami cranes. And Jill will tell her story in this video segment you'll see next.
The story, of course, is that if you fold 1,000 cranes, you will have good luck or good fortune. I'm Jill Scher. I'm a fiber artist. I have my studio here at the 3rd Street Center. I grew up in Washington State, and so that was during the 60s, and so it wasn't as far away, you know, that the history of World War II. The crane itself, traditionally it was a symbol of good fortune or good health in Japan. My understanding is that after the war, it also became a symbol of peace. I wanted to do it to enliven the space, but also to make a statement about peace and the need for peace in our world. So it's composed of 1,074 cranes, something like that was what it ended up being. Each mobile has right around 100 cranes on it. Some of them a little bit more, a little less. And the larger ones each have positive human qualities written into the paper, qualities like joy and hope and love and compassion. And that was why I wanted to install this on August 6th, just as a remembrance of the bombing and killing of so many people. So it just feels like something that we have to hold in our consciousness as something that should never be repeated. So, yeah. Its aim is to have a message of peace and of unity among all the people, that we are all brothers and sisters.
I hope you enjoyed seeing this beautiful installation here at the 3rd Street Center. And now I would like to welcome Alia Howe, who is a performing artist, a poet, and an amazing member of our community who gets people to speak their stories, brings their stories forward in such a way that inspires people and encourages them to open their hearts, open their minds, and be their true selves. Alia.
Thank you, Rita. And I'm looking forward to speaking some truth from my heart, sharing a poem called The Caretakers. Confluences. Inside the canyons where the confluences meet, I hear the echo. We are the caretakers. We are the caretakers, but the gales in the canyons of our minds lead to breezy imaginings, rivers washing away our unmade plans, leaving hushed imaginings, hushed aspirations, deserted riverbeds of our wistful regret because we left. We let lives extinguish because inertia lets land and lives erode. No more abodes for many unless pressingly we implode backwards, backwards into the rivered veins of our visionary hearts, hearts pulsing with inspired purpose, love launching our missions until all fear enters remission. And with a lover's gaze we look and see so clearly that our emptying canyons for our world species, the human species, are not connecting to life. Let's inspire countries to paddle together, to unite lands to sustain the elephant, or we forget we are one. 7 billions of our thoughts have edged out billions of species, hearts and nature living on the brink of extinction. How much love is enough? How much protected land and people are enough? How will we have a fierceness of spirit if the grizzlies no longer live here? Here today, let's make commitments. Commit here to unite the home of the grizzlies from Yukon to Yellowstone. On the bones of Harvey Locke's environmentalist dreams. Beating in our hearts. We know we are the caretakers, so all can thrive, not merely survive. Let's float through canyons for innovative solutions. Become pumped for a knowledge of diverse biogeography. Helping species survive is my drive, and it needs to be our drive to lessen the divide from alive or not. Alive or not. Filling. our rivers with our concern for all to learn, to heal the plight, for all futures to be bright. People, pick your fight, for countries to unite. Like the enlightened leaders of Bhutan who plant 108,000 trees when you are born, a prince or a princess, who protect 50% of their land so the snow leopard can roam, so you and I can stalk the snow-white predator of the minds that walk away. This is the way today. Awake and reverently to walk the red carpet canyon floor to the door that keeps all hearts together, that brings the rivered hearts of our veins pulsing and pumping together, the confluence of one. We are the ones the canyons echo. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones. For together, we are stronger. Thank you. And thank you, Star Bear.
The following letter to Congress is a spoken, sung, and danced performance filmed entirely in the White River National Forest in Colorado. Choreographer and dancer Deborah Colley created this piece to advocate for public lands which have become threatened.
Politicians, I write to you from the watershed of the Colorado River, a great North American river that knows its fate lies in your hands. Its clear, cold, and crystalline snowmelt from Rocky Mountain peaks rests inside national forests and wilderness designations. This river is a tonic for the human spirit. Its wild nature is not completely broken despite being dammed, and its riverbanks and white waters ignite the senses, break open hearts, and remind us we're alive. For hundreds of years, our species came to where we are now because wild places shaped the human and nurtured our bodies, minds, and souls. And we came to flourish in unbroken lands that, like so much of the Colorado River, were big, untamed, unmanaged, not encompassed, self-organizing, and unmediated by technological artifice or industry. To flourish, we must connect more deeply with the kind of wilderness that shaped us, and that opportunity exists only on our American public lands. My younger self had no idea of who she was or what her life held for her until she spent time in wild public places. She had to learn to love it, to fear it, be strengthened and nurtured by it, be healed by it. She had to go into nature to find solace, peace, and vitality. This age-old concept is largely forgotten. But witch doctors, shamans, elders, guides, medicine men and women, Muhammad, Buddha, and Jesus all knew that wilderness held the power to bring us back to wholeness, a chance to listen, feel, sense, to become. I am. The healing tonic of wild places cannot be synthesized. It cannot be bottled at the source and shipped by Amazon to your office door. Dear policymakers, immersion is key. Like a baptism, if you can't worship with your hiking boots, then please worship with your powerful pen.
Now, we'd like to welcome you to the music part of our program. This is going to be an exceptional time. I hope you'll just sit down, relax, and take in all the rhythms that are going to nurture your hearts. First group that we have is Mateo Sandate and friends. So I welcome them to our stage. Mateo, Michelle, Aja, and Star Bear. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you for having us.
Hold your hearts together. Hold nothing together. Hold your life together. Hold nothing together. Not my hands, not my hope, not my strength, not my mind, not my wish, not my life. Down the forest path we go to the sacred waters. Down the forest path we go to the secret well. Down the forest path we go to the sacred waters. Down the forest path we go to the secret well. Holding, hoping, holding, hoping. Hold your home together. Hold nothing together. Hold your child together. Hold nothing together. Down the forest path we go to the sacred waters. Down the forest path we go to the secret well. Down the forest path we go to the sacred waters. Down the forest path we go to the secret well. Holding, open, holding, holding, open. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. We just have to try. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. Every moment dies. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. We just have to try. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. Every moment dies. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. We just have to try. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. Every moment dies. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. We just have to try. Keep your head up high, walk like you're in flight. Every moment dies. Down the forest path we go to the sacred waters. Down the forest path we go.
Here's a song with thanks to Lauren Cole and inspiration.
Humbly we walk here, humbly we sing here, humbly we bless this land. Oh, humbly we walk here, humbly we sing here, humbly we bless this land. Humbly we walk with gratitude, remembering the ancient ones who walked this way. Humbly we walk with we walk here, humbly we sing here, humbly we bless this land. Oh, humbly we walk here, humbly we sing here, humbly we bless this land. Humbly we walk with gratitude, remembering the ancient ones who walk this way. Humbly we walk with gratitude, remembering the ancient ones who walk this way. Humbly we walk here, humbly we sing here, humbly we bless this land. Oh, humbly we walk here, humbly we sing here, humbly we bless this land. Humbly we bless this land. Humbly we bless this land.
Oh, thank you. That was so beautiful. And congratulations on your new group. This is really wonderful. These four have come together to create this beautiful music. And I'd like to introduce the next musician who's going to be with us this afternoon, and that's Barry Chapman. And he will be playing a piece on the piano, and then that will be followed up by musicians Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin, a video, but before that, before Barry comes on, Matteo Sandate is part of another band here called Let Them Roar, and the band members Sophia Clark and Ashton, and the main singer, my goodness, Olivia. They couldn't be here today, so we have them on video for you. I hope you'll enjoy.
I see my light shining.
is Barry. Today I'm going to do a stanza from School Prayer by Diane Ackerman. I swear I will not dishonor my soul with hatred. But offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature. Of misery, as a messenger of wonder. As an architect of peace. As an architect of peace.
Hi, everybody. Jan Garrett here.
Hi, I'm J.D. Martin.
And welcome to our living room. We're going to do a song for you this morning that's called Holy Mother.
And we are joined by a wonderful band. You won't see them, you will hear them, of course, and Kelly Coffey on harmony vocals.
Beautiful. Should we just do it?
Yep. Okay.
Call the band in. Holy Mother of God. She comes in with a gypsy midwife, rings on her fingers and bells on her toes, singing her way through the sorrows of this life. She shall have music wherever she goes, music wherever she goes. Dancing along in the madness, she's got her feet on the ground. Give her your pain and your sadness, she'll eat you and turn you around. She'll turn your whole world upside down. Holy Mother of God, saving the sisters and brothers. Holy Mother of God. She is the heart of the darkness. She is the port in the storm. Hers is the fierce love that holds us together, the fire that keeps us warm. She's the fire that keeps us warm. She is the wind in the canyon. She is the rain on the land. She knows the stars and the seasons by heart. You live in the palm of her hand. You live in the palm of her hand. Holy Mother, Holy Mother of God, saving the sisters and brothers. Holy Mother, Holy Mother of God. Yeah. Softly and tenderly calling, blessing the living and holding the dead. When everything else has fallen away, she is the voice in your head. She is the voice in your head. Holy Mother, Holy Mother of God, saving the sisters and brothers. Holy Mother, Holy Mother of God. Holy Mother, Holy Mother of God, saving the sisters and brothers. Holy Mother, Holy Mother of God. Holy Mother of God. She comes in with a gypsy midwife. Holy Mother of God, saving the sisters and brothers. Holy Mother of God. Holy Mother of God. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jan Garrett,
Hi, I'm J.D. Martin.
and we want to welcome you yet again to our living room in the mountains of Colorado. We have a song for you this morning that I wrote with Melinda Wood Allen. It's called Ancestors. Yeah. And please sing along with us. Here we go. Sky above, earth below, fire within me, this I know. Wind and water, sun and time, live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. The stones beneath our feet hold the memories. The stars light our way through the dark. the greening of the leaves, the stirring of the breeze. The river's song reminds us who we are. Sky above and earth below, fire within me, this I know. Wind and water, sun and time, live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Can we walk the city's canyons when the moon is on the rise? Can we let our native kindness shine through? Will we recognize the stranger, see the light behind the eyes? Let the beauty of our hearts be what we do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's Rick Cowling on the dobro. Sisters are watching over me. We're a chain of survivors breaking free. I call on those who've come before and those who yet to be. And I believe that they believe in me. Sky above and earth below, fire within me, this I know. Wind and water, sun and time, live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Live and breathe.
I hope you enjoyed the music that was presented to you, both live and in video format from our local musicians. We're so proud to have an incredible creative community. And now we're going to move into another aspect of the arts, and that's authors who are teachers and who are inspiration for how we should move forward in the new world that's being created. So today we have with us Andrew Cameron Bailey and his partner Connie Baxter Marlowe, Barb Chambliss, Larry Gottlieb, and Will Evans. I'm thrilled to have them here to share their wisdom with you today. Thank you for being here.
I'm Connie Baxter Marlowe, and Andrew and I have co-written this book, The Trust Frequency, 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm. It's an indigenous cosmology, quantum science synthesis. And the ideas came out of my interaction here in the Roaring Fork Valley with the visionary elders who came to me to show me the missing pieces of our paradigm. And we're bringing missing pieces through this book. Andrew, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I imagine I could come up with something. So this book is a compilation of wisdom that we have collected over our lifetimes. Connie and I met back in 2003, and I was amazed by what she had to say. And I kept saying, Connie, you've got to write a book. This is amazing. And turned out she didn't really want to write a book, so I'm the writer of the family. So I wrote the book. And I'm also the science guy of the family, so all of this spiritual information that a lot of people think is woo-woo or is not particularly real is now being proved by quantum science in particular. Contemporary physics is truly coming through to support what we have been stating all of these decades.
Yes, and what we are stating is that there is only love. And what we don't understand is the nature of that love, and that is that it's unconditional and gives us everything we ask for.
Important though, love is not what you think it is. Love is not holding hands necessarily, despite what the Beatles said. Love, as we express it, is in fact a quantum physics phenomenon. It's actually the primordial energy that creates and sustains all that is.
And we just don't understand the nature of that love, which is unconditional, and it gives us everything we ask for. What are our requests, Andrew?
And our requests are, in fact, our consciousness, because we are co-creators of everything that unfolds in our individual and collective lives.
And we have 7 aspects of our consciousness that create our vibratory level and our frequency, and thereby our reality. Those 7 aspects of our consciousness begin with the letter A, and we have them in one sentence. And that's the takeaway from our gift to you. And that is, with expanded awareness and accurate assumptions, we choose our attitude, we consciously direct our attention, we align with our highest inner promptings, take committed action, and allow the loving universe to manifest beyond our wildest dreams.
So my name is Barb Chambliss, and ever since I was a little girl, and especially when I was in college, I kept wanting to know how peace is actually made. A lot of the fellows that I went to college with got drafted, and as soon as they got out of boot camp, they could tell me exactly how war was made. And I kept wanting to counter that with saying, well, what about how do you make peace? And it's pretty tricky to actually see the ingredients of how to make peace, even though it is not rocket science. So I have interviewed over 60 women all over the world, partly for a PhD called the Women Peacemakers, the Hidden Side of Peacemaking, because this form of peacemaking happens not at the grassroots level, but at the tree roots level. So 15 of those women are in this book that just came out last month called Women Peacemakers, What We Can Learn from Them. These women that I've interviewed, 3 and 4 hours, they come from Iraq, they come from Rio de Janeiro, they come from Israel and Ireland and America and Thailand. The first 15 chapters of the book are their stories. Chapter 16 is their answer to this question I asked every one of them: what advice would you give someone that wanted to become a peacemaker? And I took their verbatim answers. Chapter 17 is a list of 24 things I saw how these women worked across the board. And let me just go back and say, halfway through this process, one of the women worked in Croatia, and I went to work at a camp in Croatia as a counselor for the kids that had barely made it through that war. And when I saw what war did to those children and to their country, everything changed from being curious about how to make peace to my now goal, which is to wake up the conscious peacemaker in as many people as I can. So the last chapter of this book invites the reader, and I've done the audiobook, so the reader and the listener to please participate in doing an act of peacemaking, write it up, and send it into my email. So the next thing that's coming is a wonderful song by a woman that I've gotten to know through her song that will speak directly to you about whether or not you want to take up such an invitation of doing an act of peacemaking yourself. Her name is Ellen Stapenhorst.
Many years ago, I awoke out of a dream one morning where I had been told to go to Northern Ireland, where the Troubles were very bad at the time, and stop the war, stop the fighting. And I woke up feeling very inadequate and, you know, like a little bit like, well, why me? But as I was thinking about it, I realized that if each of us does what we're called, the one thing or two things that we're called to do, I think things are set up to work. So this is the song that came out of that. I awoke from a dream. I was sent to Northern Ireland to try and stop the killing there, to bring peace. I said, you asked too much, you send me to this land. There's no magic in these hands to make the hatred cease. Then 1,000 voices echoed, and they did not fade away, saying, if not you, if not me, who will it be? If not you, if not me, who will it be? Can you stand by and do nothing? 'Cause you cannot do it all. If not you, if not me, who will it be? And was it only a dream, or was I here in my own city? And hundreds huddled homeless by the buildings to keep warm, and their hands reached out, and I knew I had to fill them. But Lord, there are so many, and I only have 2 arms. Then 1,000 voices echoed, and they did not fade away, saying, if not you, if not me, who will it be? If not you, if not me, who will it be? Can you stand by and do nothing? 'Cause you cannot do it all. If not you, if not me, who will it be? Now these dreams and others like them, they're with me every day. They're here in every movement, in every word we say. And the earth and all creation, they're crying out today. We're all in this together, we must find a better way. And 1,000 voices echo, and they do not fade away, saying, if not you, if not me, who will it be? If not you, if not me, who will it be? Can you stand by and do nothing? 'Cause you cannot do it all. If not you, if not me, who will it be? Who will it be?
Well, welcome to everybody listening and looking in. Welcome to our virtual living room where all of us friends get to be together and talk about topics that we love to speak about and that are dear to our hearts. I think we all know each other for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 decades, whatever it turns out to be.
60 for Will and me. Yep.
40, 20, 40. Yeah, it's been a while. It's so wonderful to be back together again, sharing from our hearts what we've put out to the world in our books.
It's a real
Very
community.
sweet. Okay, so I get to go next. I'm going to begin with a parable, which is the way my book begins. Imagine, if you will, that each of us is a newborn fish. In the few days since we were born, we've cautiously swum about some, but now Mom has gathered us together to teach us about our world. She points out the rocks and that some good things to eat might be found around them. She tells us about the sand and that there are some creatures that look like sand but that might sting us. She lets us know about what's good to eat and what might want to eat us. And eventually we come to feel as if we have this fish thing wired. What she doesn't tell us about, of course, is water, because she doesn't know about water. See, the fish doesn't know about water because water is all it knows. But imagine that one day something happens to you that takes you out of your well-understood reality. In this case, it comes in the form of feeling something sharp and foreign in your mouth. You're jerked around and pulled upwards, and suddenly you cross some sort of boundary and you can't breathe. You've been caught. Fortunately for you, you're in a catch and release area and you're gently put back where you belong. But now you know about the existence of water. You know about water by experiencing what we might call not water, so that you can now distinguish water from everything else. One day, many years ago, I found out about the water I'd been swimming in, and that changed everything. My new book, which is yet to be published, I'm looking for just the right publisher, is called The Water We Swim In. And the water we swim in colors and distorts everything we look at. If you've ever been in a swimming pool and gone underwater without a mask, you can see that things that look a certain distance away are not that distance away. So, and anything that is immersed, anything that's clouding the water, clouds what you look at. Well, the water in this case for a human being is not physical, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for our belief systems, for everything we know is true. Everything we know is true colors and distorts what is real, what is actually true. And this book is a product of 45, 50 years of trying to reconcile what I knew about physics. I had a master's degree in physics a long time ago, with some experience that I had that was what I would call extraordinary reality. An experience that took me out of the normal flow of interpretation that constitutes reality for a human being. And it turns out that when you see the water for what it is, then you can deal with it and you can actually extricate yourself from it. So it's kind of a left brain approach to our understanding of who we are and what the world is. And I'm very excited to be able to present the book and to find just the right publisher to put it out into the world. Thank you.
My name is Will Evans. I found inspiration from listening. And when I walk, I listen to the land and water, and they speak to me. For almost 60 years, I've been listening to the water and the land in a place called Hanging Lake. With my book, I began simply writing about water. And in the course of crafting this story, I had a conversation with a young girl. And I explained to her that in the indigenous time, the Columbia River Basin had 10 to 16 million salmon running upstream every summer. And she said to me, "Why isn't it that way now?" She was demanding. How did they do that? And I realized she had given me the organizational structure for what I'm writing. She had given me a conversation about the world we're in. And the world is a dying world story our children are rejecting. And what I was able to do was explain to her the people who were here before us, the indigenous people, held a balance and a vision of a living world story that sustained them for over 10,000 years. So this book follows water to explain how a living world works and how it is sustained both in the past and the potential in the future. I'm going to read you a short section about an event that happened here locally. And it's called Back in the High School Classroom. Meanwhile, back at the local high school, my question filled the space. I had asked, how many of you think humanity is going to make it? The students froze. They were speechless. Mercifully, the bell rang and the students instantly remembered how to move and get out of that space. The teacher and I talked for a few moments and said goodbye. I knew upon walking out of that classroom who I would go to for help. I called Kawansana, a Haida history keeper. Immediately he responded, "Tell the students, this is not the first time humanity has faced a calamity. It's happened many times before. Our history is the people who know how to cooperate are more likely to survive. Be well and stay well through this time."
Thank you so much, Will, Larry, Barb, Andrew, and Connie. What an amazing, amazing time you shared with us. I really next want to have you hang with me while I introduce the next part of the program. We're going to have a prayer from the Baha'i with Jill Meadows, a message from Nicholas Vesey, my dear friend at the Aspen Chapel, and the Way of Compassion Foundation, Laura Bartels, has a message about survival through resiliency. That's the next part of our program.
Greetings, everyone watching and enjoying the Caravan of Unity 2020 from the Baha'is of Colorado. The Baha'i faith was born in Persia in the mid-19th century in the land today we now call Iran. Baha'u'llah, the founding prophet of the Baha'i faith, whose name means the glory of God, taught that humanity in truth is one human family, that we all are created noble and by the same loving Creator. The principle of the oneness of humankind is the pivot around which all the teachings of Baha'u'llah revolve. The Baha'i faith, in less than 200 years, has become a universal faith present in every country in the world, with adherents from virtually every national, ethnic, religious, and tribal background. In 1912, Baha'u'llah's son, Abdul-Baha, traveled to the United States to visit the already growing number of American believers who looked to him as the center of his father's faith and as the perfect exemplar of what it is to be a Baha'i. At nearly 70 years old, he traveled tirelessly for 239 days and visited 40 cities and included a night's stay in Glenwood Springs. He addressed countless audiences as a distinguished and respected guest. Through both words and actions, Abdu'l-Baha elucidated his father's teachings on the necessity to eliminate all forms of prejudice, including the complete eradication of racial prejudice from the fabric of our society. He taught the spiritual principle of the harmony of science and religion, and the reality of the equality of men and women. He spoke of the progressive nature of revelation and the promise of an ever-advancing spiritual civilization for the betterment of the world, built on justice, peace, and love, and the selfless service and commitment required from all who wish to build such a world. He called on America to become a land of spiritual distinction and leadership, and imparted a powerful vision of America's spiritual destiny in ushering in the era foretold by Baha'u'llah as the most great peace. It was at a stop in Wilmette, Chicago on April 30th, 1912, at the future site of the North American Baha'i House of Worship, where Abdu'l-Baha stated, "This American democracy manifests capacity, showing forth readiness to become the standard bearer of the most great peace. May its hosts be the hosts of the oneness of humanity." And in his concluding remarks at this gathering, he left us with what has become known as the prayer for America. O thou kind Lord, this gathering is turning to thee. These hearts are radiant with thy love. These minds and spirits are exhilarated by the message of glad tidings. O God, let this American democracy become glorious in spiritual degrees, even as it has aspired to material degrees, and render this just government victorious. Confirmed this revered nation to upraise the standard of the oneness of humanity and to promulgate the most great peace, to become thereby most glorious and praiseworthy among all the nations of the world. O God, this American nation is worthy of thy favors and is deserving of thy mercy. Make it precious and near to thee through thy bounty and bestowal.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Vesey from the Aspen Chapel in Colorado, and we'd like to welcome the Caravan of Unity. We are delighted to support this venture. Here in Aspen, we're part of the Roaring Fork community that's included Father Thomas Keating from St. Benedict's Monastery in Snowmass, as well as Cynthia Bourgeot and Ed Bastian. We've participated in this interspiritual dialogue over many years, hosting Kurt Johnson and his team, as well as joining in with Rita Marsh and the Davini Kent organization in making our own small contribution. Our emphasis here is on inclusivity and oneness being the foundation of all our learning. We like to think that our chapel is a still point in a turning world, and that each of us has a unique contribution to make through the portal of the present moment. We see this present moment as containing everything needed to bring from within us the love which will serve to transform consciousness. We've been very moved by the struggle that's taking place in our country at the moment, and as our contribution here, I'd like to read a poem that comes from within our chapel. It's called An Evil Peace. It's an evil peace that is kept with humanity under a knee, an order not worthy of law, And minds they take sides, and judgments are made, and blood is pushed to the floor. But might and right and incest do make, when thrown together to mate. And signs they go up, and the statues come down, and all we're left with is hate. It's an evil wealth that is gained by enslaving a brother to work, by stealing the lands and forcing the hands of those who are rightfully heirs. And the law of the land favors those who can hand the wealth to their family and friends. And the jails, they are filled with the hearts that have tilled to satisfy the rich and their ends. It is an evil we make when the planet is raped for the sake of the economy, stupid. The figures add up, and the trees, they come down, and the air becomes harder to breathe. We fight for our breath with their knees on our necks, and the cry for our mum on our lips. But the earth cannot hear, because she's deaf to our tears. It is we who have all the ears. Every mind thinks it's separate, every person apart, yet our brotherhood is that which we miss. The mistake that we make is to fight for our wealth, thinking others have that which is ours. There's one commonwealth sharing the bounty of health, and that bounty, it knows no bounds. It includes sea to sea as well as you and me, and everything else it surrounds. So open your eyes and unfold your ears. Feel the pain and the cry all around. Take your hand from your pocket and don't try to block it. Your brother is asking for help. Be it father or mother or neighbor or nation, we're all of a one in this world. A community of life, not intended for strife, but a love within which we are furled. We want to wish you all the best in your struggle to make this world a better place. Thank you.
Hello. What a gift it is to join you today as part of the Unity Caravan. I am Laura Bartels, and I am the director of the Mindful Life program in Carbondale, Colorado. I want to speak to you today about resilience, particularly some skills of resilience. Unexpected change and challenge is part of life. We hear that humans are resilient, but when we experience life ourselves and our own challenges, we find it's not a given. It is never untimely to develop the skills of resilience, whether spurred from crisis, ongoing adversity, or proactively developing its qualities intentionally. While there is so much goodness in the world, we are in what some call dire times. Developing ourselves and cultivating long-term traits of resilience and well-being may be the most meaningful response to our current times. We can learn to be more resilient. We're not out of luck if we don't feel resilient today or on any given day. Most of us find ourselves in at least some circumstances beyond our control that are challenging. We are all at the mercy of some things we can't change. When we find ourselves here, we do our best to cope. Our methods of coping can be beneficial or dysfunctional. Resilience reduces our suffering, even if it doesn't change or fix the circumstances. And when we are more resilient and strong, we have a better chance at affecting or bringing about change. As neuropsychologist Rick Hansen says, while resilience helps us recover from loss and trauma, it offers us much more than that. True resilience fosters well-being, an underlying sense of happiness, love, and peace. Well-being and resilience promote each other in an upward spiral. The skills of resilience are many, as are the ways to cultivate resiliency. A prime mode of cultivating resiliency is developing and connecting with meaning and purpose in one's life. How do you create or connect with more meaning and purpose? First, by doing things that are meaningful, by knowing what is meaningful, knowing what we value, and living in alignment with those. We can start by asking ourselves, at the end of my life, what will be most meaningful? And then bring those things to mind every day. A big question is, how do we have resilience when we are facing suffering every day, repeatedly, on the news, perhaps in our work, or in our own communities? Consider that the Dalai Lama says that the deepest human impulse is caring. How do we not just feel despair, hopelessness, and experience burnout when there is suffering around us and we do care? Coping well with suffering around us, we move from empathy to compassion, as they are not the same thing. Empathy is important, but we can have two main but very different outcomes. One is empathic distress, such as overwhelm and burnout. The other is compassion. Ideally, empathy is the stepping stone to true compassion. Compassion fatigue is a myth. You can hear people say, my problem is I just have too much compassion. What they are really experiencing is empathy fatigue. So when we feel others' pain, we are experiencing empathy. It is distressing. When we use that for good, actively shifting to the wish or act to be helpful, to reduce suffering, then we are fostering love, connection, warmth, and caring. We can direct compassion to ourselves as much as to others, and both have deep ties to resilience. Now, we can know all sorts of things, but unless we take action, they don't change our lives. Just as we can't have someone go to the gym and exercise for us or eat a meal for us, we can't pay someone to develop resilience for us. This is what we do at the Mindful Life program. We're dedicated to helping people have a daily practice that over time makes real change, that is transformative. As we all focus on attention, on values, on wisdom, and open-heartedness, developing ourselves and cultivating long-term traits of resilience and well-being, this may truly be the most meaningful response to our current times.
I hope that you enjoyed the arts segment of our program. We're going to move now into restoration and sustainability. This is where our community shines yet again. And it is my pleasure to be introducing today my good friend Gwen Garcelin, who's a consultant, a social entrepreneur, and an evolutionary trend tracker. She's the author of the book Strategies for Active Citizenship. She's a senior fellow of the American Leadership Forum, and Gwen is the director of the Roaring Fork Food Alliance. She's going to share with you some of the amazing things that are happening here in our community where we demonstrate that health is from the ground up. Gwen.
Hi. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to join together in our collective visioning of a regenerative world. And I want to invite you to actively summon that state of regeneration, which means to restore or heal. So feel into the gratitude you have for the places in nature that are dear to you. And I hope that what we're about to share will inspire you to bring your own genius and courage to serve those places that you love. I'm in the heart of the Roaring Fork Valley, and it feels like a heart here. The people that come here are free thinkers and thought leaders. And starting with the Ute tribe, who made their home here, I think that this love continues through those thought leaders who are here. People like Amory Lovins at the Rocky Mountain Institute, who are brilliantly devising ways to address reversing global warming. and Jerome Osentowski at the Colorado Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute, who's been bringing his adventures in permaculture to the world. And permaculture is something that is not just something that's about regenerative agriculture, but can also be applied to resilient communities. And then there are the people at Sustainable Settings, a nonprofit farm in the area that was started by two artists who had very little background in agriculture and are still bringing their creative thinking to all that they do in things like biodynamics, you know, partnering with the rhythms and energies of the earth to grow more abundantly. We're going to start with a story. You'll see lots of different stories here. The first one is of an amazing effort to recreate how we do funding of our local agriculture. So people coming together and choosing how they are investing in local agriculture. And so here we go with the Two Forks Club.
I started the Two Forks Club because there's a gap that needs to be filled. These young people in this valley are amazing entrepreneurs, hard workers, committed to the land, to bringing the soil back to life, and committed to bringing food safety to this valley. Being a part of that, it excites me a lot. And plus, I get a lot of good food.
We got the money to build this through the Two Forks Club's Slow Money loan.
Slow Money is a network of folks around the country who are collaborating to put some of their money into local food systems.
There's so many other returns on your money. Woody and I decided, wouldn't it be great if there was a club that gave 0% interest loans to local food entrepreneurs?
So the way that it works is members make a $150 contribution if they're a farmer or teacher, or a minimum of a $250 contribution if they're anybody else. That goes into our general pool. At our quarterly meetings, a farmer or food entrepreneur will stand up in front of our group and pitch their proposal. We collectively make a choice based on what will make the greatest impact on our local food economy. The loans then get paid back, go back into our fund, and circulate for future loans.
I'd like to encourage everybody to become part of this club. It's important for our community.
It allows so many people to have careers that are so impactful for all of us.
The thing that's beautiful about this club, compared to any other slow money club around the country, is everyone put in whatever they could afford to put in. This is really unusual. Everyone still only gets one vote. Very cool.
And this is the start of getting people the capital they need to get their hands dirty and try.
In the last 3 years, we have loaned $120,000 to 7 local farmers and food entrepreneurs. 100% has been paid back on time or early, and 50% of all the loans that we have made, the loanees have come back to become members of the Two Forks Club.
We're wanting to give a leg up to the young farmers in both the Roaring Fork and the North Fork valleys.
I have to say, I sit in those meetings, I am like moved to tears sometimes when I look at these young kids, and it's really inspiring. For the amount that you give, your impact is so huge.
Members were really excited about their return being more than money, a lot more than money.
The backbone of our business is building a local food economy that supports local food production for everyone.
This year we were able to get a loan for a wall-behind tractor. With that piece of equipment, we've been able to reshape all our beds. We doubled our size this season, so
I love knowing that they're in our valley. Hopefully we'll be eating more and more of their products over time.
To me, this is the path to food safety, food security, supporting our local farmers in any way we can.
All donations are 100% tax deductible. Please consider becoming a member today. We're a 501c3 nonprofit and could really use your support.
I really needed to find why am I here on Earth? And what I found was to be growing food plants.
This is my temporary greenhouse, and for now, this works great.
beans and tomatoes. I planted these, and I'm gonna eat these.
I see their passion, and they want to grow food. What's the fulfillment? What really drives those kids to want to farm?
I'm passionate about farming because it is the most essential of all work. We need food to live, and the best way to get food is to grow it and harvest it.
It really gives me a sense of purpose every day. I know that people are counting on me for their food and for their sustenance. We just started Two Roots Farm
In Missouri Heights, Colorado.
We're growing market vegetables on about a half an acre. She's the boss, but she treats me like a king.
I always wanted to be a farmer, but wasn't really encouraged to pursue that as a career. Purple stalks, tri-stalks, as diverse as the Indians that grew them.
Casey thinks that the memory of the plant is in the seed. So if we collect the first and the last and the best looking plants, that seed will remember all of the temperatures and all of the water cycles it's grown through. So it's kind of hard sometimes because we don't get to eat the first tomatoes, but it's definitely worth it.
We're a high altitude seed breeding production systems building farm located on the Thompson Creek Ranch, which is now Sunfire Ranch.
It was really amazing to see the support that this community here in the Roaring Fork Valley has to offer and how many people really are dedicated to this cause.
We realized that this was a really ripe valley for this type of enterprise. There's the demand for local food, there's the customer base. We were able to find a really awesome partnership in Mike and Allison Spade that allowed us to start up our dream right here.
Beautiful romaine head.
The quality of work that they do is outstanding, so it's a good agreement.
Christian and I were able to come in, grow the vegetables, work with them, helping them with all their animals, and in exchange, we get a place to live and to work, and they get to grow the amount of enterprises they have.
See those chickens? Yeah!
This is leading to some great and inspiring direction among these young people. They'll be feeding me when I'm an old man.
One of the biggest hurdles for me is starting from the ground up on land that doesn't belong to me. I'm really lucky that I've been able to lease land, but I don't know if I'll always be here.
Bring me little water, Sylvie. Bring me little water now. Bring me little water, Sylvie. Every little once in a while. Can you see me coming? Can you see me now?
Time's changing, and we need to be able to grow food without fossil fuels and electricity.
I will bring a little water.
Much like a healthy community,
Every little once in a while.
diversity is the key.
Ooh, bring me little water, Sylvie. Bring me little water now. Bring me little water, Sylvie.
Farming at 7,000 feet,
Every little once in a while.
anything can happen.
Every little once in a while.
We missed a giant hailstorm passing through.
80% of the garden is total carnage.
Even though you spent the past however long planning it all out and, getting everything so that you could have successions every week, we're not in charge.
I am starting from scratch. I'm not showing up to the job, so to speak. I'm creating it while being very busy with my family and my children. A beetle! Oh, that's a little close. Let me see.
He's kind of stinky.
Is he stinky? Did you smell him?
Yuck.
I guess when you create a job for yourself, you have to solve all those problems, and I did, and I'm here, but it's a lot of work.
I've struggled a lot doing what I've done up to this point. And most of the young farmers are going to struggle for a long time here unless we can help them out in some other ways.
We got the money to build this through the Slow Money loan.
Slow Money is a network of folks around the country who are collaborating to put some of their money into local food systems. Despite all of the farmers markets and CSAs and buzz from inside the local food bubble, the actual amount of capital that's flowing in to build the next generation of organic farms is barely calculable. Very little is going to local food systems. In order to catalyze that flow, we had to get people kind of interacting in a different way. The thing that's beautiful about this club, compared to any other slow money club around the country, is everyone put in whatever they could afford to put in. So we have donations ranging in size from now $100 to $30,000. This is really unusual. Everyone still only gets one vote. Very cool.
I know we can repay the loan if they give it to us, and I know that it'll help us be successful.
This is the start of getting people the capital they need to get their hands dirty and try.
So guys, so you know, congratulations, we have approved all of your loans.
So if we can be successful, next farmer will be successful, and this fund will grow. You know, that's a system that will help save agriculture in our country.
Got enough bad stuff that's happening in terms of climate change and the collapse of community. It's dark, it's scary stuff. So we need a nice, positive, nurturing other thing. And I think slow money is positive, simple thing you can do at the community level, which is just put a little money to work with the farmer down the street.
We want to build a system that we rely on ourselves. And we can trust everything here because it all came from right here.
It's a really amazing, simple technology for us to be able to grow some warm season crops. It's going to repay itself and more after this one season.
I think the most important thing for the future of food production in our world is to get young people, especially, farming in ways that are environmentally friendly and economically sustainable.
You paid off the loan. Did you get paid?
Not yet, quite yet.
It's cool that you paid the loan back, but we want you to be here for years to come.
That's right.
And how long is he gonna not get paid and wear himself out?
Just to bless the morning.
Food coming off of these places is high quality. And at what point are we loaning, funding, subsidizing health in our soil in our community, and health in our food, and health in ourselves?
A lot of young farmers around the country are figuring out you have to get kind of creative to figure out deals with landowners or people that have capital and work out trades and agreements that's good for everybody.
Farming is a viable career option. We need to educate the public where their food comes from. Fight for the laws that protect farmers. And we need to increase that local food access.
It's all about creating as many farmers and as many farms all over the world as possible.
And people come here, they see what we've done, they can do a variation on it.
Farming fuels everything we do. Everything starts with what we eat and how we fill our bodies, and I want to be part of that.
We still have a long way to go, but it's nice to see that it actually has some momentum.
Oh, sweet mystery, guardian.
I never get tired of seeing the commitment and ingenuity of our local farmers. In the short film you just saw, you met Erin Cuzio and Casey Piscura, and you'll hear from them more in a minute about the expansion efforts that grew out of increasing food insecurity this spring due to the pandemic. But first we're gonna start with the school garden. And we don't often think of them as big food producers, but they are important and mostly important for teaching a new generation of food growers. So this is the Compassion Garden.
Hi, I'm Diana Alcantara, and I teach at the Carbondale Community School here in beautiful Carbondale, Colorado. I'm sitting here in our learning garden at school with some of the students, Bella, Mason, and Hazel. And I really want you to tell the people what you love about our learning garden. Bella, go ahead and take your mask off.
What I love about the garden is it's like a miniature forest that we can all be proud of because we all worked on it.
Mason.
Something I love about the garden is we all work together to create this giant, it's kind of like a miniature community center in a way.
Hazel, go ahead and take your mask off and tell us.
My favorite part of the garden is the whole community works on it, and all of the community has a special place in the garden.
What is your favorite plant in the garden, Bella?
I really like the radishes and the carrots. And to be honest, I have no idea. There are so many.
You like them all, don't you?
Yes.
Hazel?
I like the red pole beans and the white currants.
So the garden was started 7 years ago. Inspiration from this book that I did a group reading of, The Truly Alive Child. And the book really explores ways for us to shift our thinking about education and how to make education be alive and be interesting and be relevant. And also looks at love, peace, joy, and purpose. And I feel the garden gives all the kids a place where they can come and connect with a certain part of the garden and really feel connected to earth, to soil, to rain, to sunshine. We talk about eating healthy foods and different tastes of things. This is year 7, magical year where things came together as far as balancing out the soil with the plants and the insects. But with the COVID, we had to come up with a creative way to work with our vegetables. We had been putting them in the school lunch, right guys? Yep. On Fridays we would do hot lunch and use our vegetables. Yeah. But this year we turned it into a compassion project. And we're going to donate all the vegetables and produce we've grown here to our food bank, Lift Up, and also to the seniors that live over in senior housing. So that's our plan of compassion, to share our bounty this year.
Welcome to Erin's Acres. We're on private property here, but the landowners have really valued local agriculture and have kept this farm available to Erin to lease. This spring, when the community came together as COVID was ramping up and we knew that there would be food shortage or the people needing food, we looked to our local food supply, and especially through the capacities of the next generation of local farmers. Erin was one of the first to submit a proposal to expand her operations. Tell us a little bit about that, Erin.
So here at Erin's Acres, I run a CSA and a market stand. I sell to some restaurants, but my main goal has always been getting food to this community, keeping it in this community. When COVID started, we started to feel pressure as farmers and wondered what we could do. And myself, with 10 years of farming experience, I knew I could expand, I could do more. So I spoke with the landowners and we went from 1.5 acres to 3 acres of annual food production. And it happened in the middle of summer, so we weren't quite on track to get a lot to the community, but we're really excited about next year.
Tell us a little bit about the Farm to Food Pantry program that's supporting farmers to get food to those most in need.
Yeah, the Farm to Food Pantry program is fantastic because it ensures that farmers will sell their produce, so we can plan in advance. We can grow knowing it will stay in the community and be available to those most in need.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank
Your
you.
place is amazing. Mountain Seeds, which is Casey's farm, is possible because of the relationship with Jason Sewell of the Sewell Ranch, one of the original homesteads in the area. Tell us a little bit about how that happened, Casey.
Oh, I was a young farmer needing land, and the reality of the affordability of land in our area seemed prohibitive, so I looked out for people that saw the value in creating farms and utilizing land, and built a relationship that's allowed me to build the farm that exists now and is supplying food to the community.
What do you think was so attractive to Jason about your original idea for what has now become a pretty cool partnership?
I feel like it's in, at least for him, he could see the value in producing his own food and producing for the community on land that had stood in that capacity. We're seeing too much of our farmland being developed into houses, and we're really losing important resource, and I think he wanted to preserve that resource and have it be put to good use.
So you expanded this year through your nonprofit, Seed Peace, and got more of your produce to those in need through our local food pantry. What's been great about that?
Well, farming is a difficult thing to do, especially if you don't have equity in your land. And so utilizing philanthropic investment to kickstart the ability to provide food to people in need, to pay farmers living wages has been important. So this year we really wanted to figure out ways to train more farmers, provide healthy food to people who really could utilize it in these tough times, and hopefully start building a blueprint for how to kickstart local food production in our region.
Thanks so much. Appreciate what you're doing. The next story of expanding our local food supply is something that can happen in your own backyard. And something that I really love about it is that it puts together the existing resources of organizations and people in the community. So this is the story of the Home Food Garden Project. Hi, I'm Gwen Garcelon here in Carbondale, and I wanted to show you today one of the projects that is part of this lovely effort to reclaim our local food supply and increase our local food systems production. For a long time, I've known that backyard gardens needed to be part of the picture. Certainly we want to look to our local farmers and the expansion that they can do, but every one of us can be a backyard farmer. And through a partnership with the Colorado State University Extension Office and their Master Gardener program, I started to realize that there was a partnership available where master gardeners who are experts and can act as mentors to people who want to start backyard gardens, that could allow people's efforts, because it takes a lot of courage sometimes to start something that you know nothing about, growing food. And having that kind of person who has your back and can really help to do the kind of planning that it takes and the soil preparation and the planning of companion planting so that you really get a very vibrant and productive garden. It just makes all the difference. So this is an atypical garden because I live in an apartment and don't have a backyard. I knew that there were plots available in our community garden here, the Demeter Garden. So I decided to participate in the project too, to really understand the ins and outs of it. And this is my garden that I started, and these two garden beds were just barren and hadn't been used in a couple of years and were full of bindweed. But through the help of my garden mentor, my master gardener who had my back, she helped me to really create amazing soil and to know how to plant so that This has blown my mind, the productivity. We've gotten gallons of tomatoes out of this, and squash are just everywhere. And I'm taking food to our local pantry every week. So the pieces that I think are really lovely about this is that it allows everybody to being in my garden this summer when everybody's had to stay home has been so uplifting to me. And being able to do something that's positive and be part of what's helping to create, something new in our local food system that anybody can participate in has been amazing. We've started 20 gardens from throughout the valley, all with mentors, and they are. So the people who've been part of the program have been so excited to become gardeners themselves and create these gardens in their backyards that they had never done before, and be able to bring this healthy, beautiful local produce to the people in need. And now we're looking at expanding through the extension network. That infrastructure exists so that we can expand around the state and likely across the country with a program that is simple, but it has pieces that will allow us to ramp up backyard gardens in earnest. And that's really exciting to me, and just happy to get to show you all what's possible. Thanks. So we're going to see some pictures now of before and after of some of the gardens that were part of the project this year. And hopefully I'll get to see them so I can tell you what they are. That is a picture of Adam Ting's garden that was just barren, big lot behind his house. And it was incredible. That is my kids with the soil in my garden. It was full of weeds, and it became the beautiful thing you just saw in the last video. That's in a tiny backyard that was just compacted soil, and it is producing like crazy. And next, we get to see Adam Ting's garden, that big, huge piece of black plastic was over all the weeds on the compacted soil in his backyard. Here now you get to see what happened with that. Welcome to this amazing garden that Adam Ting started as part of the Home Food Garden Project. Adam, tell us a little bit about, kind of the vision for this place, and then how the support and the idea of the Home Food Garden Project inspired you to actually bring it to life.
Yeah, so I've been living at this unit here at the corner of 3rd Street for about 2 years now, and for the first year I was living here, it was just an empty plot full of grass, and I really wanted to, I have some experience gardening at Wild Mountain Seeds, and wanted to take that experience and bring it here, and the Home Food Garden Project kind of inspired me to be able to have an outlet for my food. I knew I wanted to practice growing on this space, and have the practice in this environment, because it's not easy to grow here. So this opportunity kind of allowed me to, just have a place to bring my food, all the food I created, because it's clearly a lot of space, and just be able to kind of reclaim this land and use it as agricultural land. It's just in this backyard, and it's been unused for so many years that I figured it was a good chance to grow some food and to feed myself a little bit too. That's good too.
Yeah. What are some of the resources that the Home Food Garden Project offered that helped make this possible?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was just kind of that initial spark. I was kind of wondering whether or not I actually was willing to take on this much. I really like to do all kinds of things during the summer. And again, work at Wild Mountain Seeds, so it's I was really trying to figure out if I could actually get it all done. But the support really, for just physical, nutrients of just compost was a super huge help. I had some plans of getting a little bit of compost for myself, but it would have been probably half the size of this garden or a quarter of the size of this garden. But with all that compost I was able to pretty much fill this entire plot with compost and really kind of create a really good groundwork for the future of this garden as like start building soil. So that was really, really important. Also just resources of seeds and like the communication network, or the network of people that is connected with this project. With Lift Up being 100, 200 feet that way, it was really, really exciting to me to be able to grow all this food and then just walk it over to the donations during the day. So those were some really, really important things. So yeah, it was just like the support really just kind of gave me the spark of like, I can do this and like I have a reason for doing this, rather than just having like a big garden that I could like just have and like I think it's hard to kind of get the drive to start your own farm or garden on scale. This project really kind of gave me the opportunity to be like, I can do this and I know what to do with this, and like all the produce that I'll be growing will have a purpose and will be able to be redistributed to people who really need it, because I don't need all this food myself. Like I can't eat that much food.
This is a dream come true for me, as you know, because I used to live in that house right there.
Yeah.
And I would look at this barren thing and think, oh my God, we should have a garden there. Mm-hmm. And I had, 2 infants at the time and could barely keep my own little garden going.
Yeah.
So thank you, because this is so beautiful. And it's such an incredible use of this plot that's been, as we know, barren for so long.
Yeah, it's great to see it just all come to life. Like at first when I was gardening, I was had broad forked the whole property, and like there was a bunch of grass, and it was pretty established. There's a lot of fungus or fungi in the soil, which was really exciting for me. But when I first put the compost down, things were a little slow and it was kind of dry. It was hard to keep things moist. But as like the weeds kind of started to reestablish and the water was maintained, like it was really awesome to see just how much diversity and how much life. Like there's so many insects that I see every day in here, and it's just like just in terms of just the biodiversity and the kind of aspects of things, I think.
Have you heard from anybody around, any of the neighbors, any input at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone, at first I think people were like, what are you doing? This is like a big piece of land and you're kind of like dumping compost in places, like maybe get rid of that compost.
There were big piles of topsoil.
But that was kind of when that happened, that was my first priority, is to move stuff, get stuff out of people's ways. And now I've met all of my neighbors pretty much, which is one thing that I wasn't really expecting. Like even these people along other houses here.
So the garden has allowed you to connect to people?
Oh, absolutely. It's like I've met so many different people who are all around, like because
they're curious.
It's in the middle of this spot where there's so many different people living.
Right.
So it's been a really good point of connection to just to like meet people and kind of get them excited, and being able to share a bunch of produce with like my housemates and my neighbors, and I think that's my landlord. It's like I think he's really stoked on it too. It's like it's been a really cool experience to just see the change in people's mindsets of like, what is this person doing? Like there's kind of like using this land that it's just like an unfamiliar thing to them, but then when it starts growing and when they actually see like what the potential is, I think that's really special.
And how beautiful it is.
Yeah, and it's just there's so much here, and there's so much to be enjoyed, and I mean, yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I hope your heart is so full and that you are inspired for potentials in your own communities. Next up is Andrew Cameron Bailey, who focuses on climate restoration and a passion we both share, the evolutionary potential of humanity. He's the founder of Sacred Earth Enterprises, which is developing economically viable climate solutions, which integrate regenerative agriculture with direct air carbon capture and many other things that he will tell you about.
Thank you for that, Gwen. Wow, what a day, what a beautiful day. And it just wouldn't be complete without a section on climate and the massive crisis that humanity faces. So I made a little movie, a little video with the beautiful Mount Sopris here in Carbondale as the backdrop. And I've titled it Climate Restoration 101. And the reason it's called Climate Restoration is because that's the name of the job we must do. We must restore Earth's climate. And it's a huge emergency, and there's a real danger right now, I believe, of getting sidetracked by the political situation and by the pandemic. And we simply must not allow ourselves to take our eyes off that ball. So here's this little film I made, and I want to thank you. This has been a great honor. Hello, friends. My name's Andrew Bailey, and I'm the founder of an organization called Sacred Earth Enterprises, because in fact, we have a sacred duty to Mother Earth, to Mama Gaia, and that is to restore the climate of our beautiful, delicate planet. So this is Climate Restoration 101. Climate restoration, it's the global endeavor to restore Earth's atmosphere to the state it was in before the Industrial Revolution. And I think most of us know what the problem is, what the situation is that we face, but let's go through it very quickly. In 5 minutes here, I'm going to see if I can give you a very quick overview of climate restoration, the job we must do, which is to restore the climate of our beautiful endangered planet. So point one, too much CO2 in Earth's atmosphere as a result of too much burning of fossil fuels for transportation mostly, and for heating, and on and on. We have been doing that for the last roughly 200 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution began. And the fact is, we didn't know that we were going to be destroying our planet and actually putting our species in an existential crisis, my friends. So that is something we can change. We can stop doing it. We have to summon up the courage and the will to make a change. There are alternatives. Everybody knows that. And let us do that now, because we must. Secondly, there is an estimated 1 trillion tons of excess carbon dioxide in Earth's atmosphere. We have to remove that from Earth's atmosphere, and we can do that. We have the technologies to do that. Everything from regenerative agriculture to what is called direct air carbon capture. I'm an old chemical engineer, and I've put my chemical engineer's hat back on, and I tell you, it is not too difficult to remove tons and tons, or gigatons as they're called, which is billions of tons of carbon dioxide from Earth's atmosphere. And I'll tell you another secret. That carbon dioxide is a valuable resource. If you think like a miner, we're going to go mining in Earth's atmosphere. And that's easy. We don't have to dig holes in the ground. We don't have to go to the moon. It's right here in this room where I am speaking to you from. So we must remove as much CO2 from Earth's atmosphere as we possibly can, because right now we're looking at roughly 450 parts per million of CO2 in Earth's atmosphere, and it's never been above 300 parts per million in the last 420,000 years. And we know that from ice core studies, okay? So we're in very big trouble unless we do something. And I am proposing that in fact, I am doing something. I head up a team that has designed and developed a strategy, a rapid deployment, mass producible, globally deployable system that can indeed turn things around, make a measurable difference in the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, which gradually will begin to restore our climate, which, as I said, is the job we have to do. There's a third challenge, which is the Arctic and the Antarctic. We're losing the ice at both of our poles. And of course, we're also losing the tropical rainforest at our equator, both in Africa and in the Amazon. I think most of the attention goes to the Amazon, but it's equally dire in Africa. We must stop cutting down the forests, which are in fact the lungs of our planet. So there's a lot to do, my friends, and we can't all do it all. My attitude is this: anybody who has a passion for anything that will help, let us support them, let us find each other, let's get this job done. And personally, I've invented or designed something called the Enviroplex, which combines regenerative food production, agriculture, with direct air carbon capture and the conversion of that CO2 into useful, valuable, marketable products. That's my job and the job of my team. There are others whose job it is to somehow convince people to stop burning fossil fuels. Electric cars are wonderful. We don't have to drive gasoline or diesel vehicles anymore. We can change that. We can change, in fact, we must change our entire system. And as to the Arctic, that's challenging, but it's completely doable. It's affordable. It can be done. I don't know how to do it profitably, but what we do get as a reward is a viable planet for future generations. And by the way, the mission of Sacred Earth Enterprises is this: to ensure a safe, habitable planet for future generations, for my children and grandchildren, and yours as well. So thank you. Let's get to work.
We're almost at the end of our program here from Colorado, Carbondale, and our next performance is by a good friend of mine, Lisa Dancing Light, who is a songwriter, a teacher, and an incredible light in our community. Looking forward to hearing this song of love yet again, and I hope that we'll be able to share with you what this song really means. It's a special song that came out of a connection with an author, Anne Hillman, and Lisa's going to perform the song, tell the story about it, and Roxana Duvall is going to sign for us.
There's almost a sensual longing for communion with others who have a large vision. The immense fulfillment of the friendship between those engaged in furthering the evolution of consciousness has a quality impossible to describe. That's a quote by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who was a French philosopher, Jesuit Catholic priest, and a paleontologist. With the current pandemic, many of us are longing for communion with others, especially those with a vision. In the past 3 decades, I have been blessed to connect with many wisdom teachers, some of which include Wallace Black Elk, Brooke Medicine Eagle, and Malidoma Somé. Anne Hillman is one of those teachers, and as an author of Awakening the Energies of Love, Discovering Fire for the Second Time, Anne was a guest in our valley facilitating a retreat. Through the vision of Rita Marsh, I was guided, as she said, to co-write The Song of Love with Anne, which was inspired by a chapter in her book. For 3 years, I struggled with this for the perfect melody and harmony, yet not until Anne's retreat did I finally receive the inspiration, as the song literally came in a download as I was preparing for the final morning of the retreat. This message is one of love and acceptance, to go inside, to open your heart, and surrender. It's a message of hope, finding your voice, and expressing your passion. As we've gathered here to shine our own light during this event and celebrate the brilliance of the combined energy of humanity, we honor and share compassion for all those who are suffering and who've experienced great loss, and we acknowledge our oneness as points of light. This is a quote from Teilhard de Chardin. When man discovers love, he will have discovered fire for the second time. You are loved, you are accepted, you are held in a vast embrace. You are perfect as you are, a child of God, a gift of grace. Open your heart to the one love, mad with passion and desire. There's work to do. Get on your knees, pray, great lover, do what you will with me. You are love, you are life, you are shining like the sun. Be bread, be broken, open to the presence of love. So let go of all you know. Search your heart, search your soul. Ask for help, go inside, find your gift, let it flow. You are love, you are life, you are shining like the sun. Be bread, be broken, open to the presence of love. Find your way, find your practice, make new friends, give your life to love. The world will sing in many voices, open to the presence of love. The world will sing in many voices, open to the presence of love.
Lisa, Roxana, thank you. What a gift. Well, we're coming to the end of this amazing day, and I've invited Connie up here so that we could say our thank yous. I hope that this program from Carbondale, Colorado, about Indigenous connection, the arts and healing, restoration and sustainability has given you inspiration, has given you hope, has given you opportunity to be reflecting on all the gifts that are in your life despite what has been going on in these times. the Caravan of Unity 2020. This is its first stop in Colorado. They're off to Boulder next, and it's been an amazing journey, starting in San Francisco, going to LA, going to Las Vegas, and now to the highest point on the trip, I have to say that again, here in Carbondale. And I want to do a redo because I had this brain thing happen when I was introducing Let Them Roar, and that band members I know so personally. It's Matteo Sandati, Olivia Pevic, Sophia Clark, and Ashton Toffer. There you go, got that. And I want to say a huge thanks to Unity Earth for sending these amazing team of folks here. The trio, Peter, Chris, and Mike, just awesome. And I just wish you the best on your journey as you go across the country and end up in New York for Peace Weekend. And I'm going to let Connie say some words about what's happening in between now and Peace Weekend.
Well, good heavens. Okay. Between now and Peace Weekend, the Caravan of Unity will be stopping in Denver, Boulder, and Loveland, Colorado with Sunrise Ranch, and that's tomorrow, Labor Day. And then it'll be going on to Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska, where Good of the Whole and Julie Krull will be hosting a fascinating, healing, and inspiring few hours. And then it goes on to Chicago, where it will be doing some significant events. And then, do you know what it's doing in Chicago? No. And then it goes on to Philadelphia on the Constitution Day on the 17th of September. And that will be a significant prayer for America. And it will go on then into Washington, and it will be at the mall in Washington. That's as far as I know. I don't have the schedule memorized, but this is a significant caravan of unity to open the heart to all of life and to all people. And so that's what I know so far.
And Peter, I so thank you for coming to Carbondale.
Well, thank you guys. Carbondale and all of you have been such wonderful hosts for us. Thank you so much to Kylie and David for hosting us physically in your home, and Rita, you and your team, Connie, all of them have been just so beautiful to work with here. What a pleasure for all of us. And speaking of pleasures, it's also a pleasure to get to present to you guys May Peace Prevail on Earth Peace Poll from our dear friend Fumi, John Stewart, and the May Peace Prevail on Earth Society. And so help me put this into the stand for you guys. Yes. So how does that feel? I know you guys are close.
Feels amazing. It feels
Yes,
amazing.
and thank you, Fumi,
Yeah,
for
thank
your
you.
generosity and love to all of humanity.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
What a great
We
pleasure.
so appreciate it.
What a great pleasure to be here. And we're looking forward to moving on to Boulder and Sunrise and beyond. It's beautiful to be one with all of you guys. May peace prevail on earth. Let's do this. We're doing this. We are the change. We are the road to 2020. It's not in the future anymore. We are it. And here we go. Thank you so much, Carbondale. All of you, all of you, all of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We had a moment of silence there. Sometimes those just show up. And now we have a final prayer coming. So we're setting up for the final prayer, and Roxana is going to come up with that. And we will wrap up our program here from Carbondale.
Aramaic was the language spoken by Jesus of Nazareth,
and the best accepted translation of the Lord's Prayer is by the internationally renowned religious scholar Neil Douglas Klotz. O birther, father, mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light. Focus your light within us. Make it useful as the rays of a beacon show the way. Unite our I can to yours, so that we walk as kings and queens with every creature. Create in me a divine cooperation from many selves, one voice, one action. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight. Forgive our hidden past, the secret shames, as we consistently forgive what others hide. Deceived neither by the outer nor the inner, free us to walk our path with joy. From you is born all ruling will, the power and life to do so, the song that beautifies all. From age to age it renews. Amen.